Hi everybody! Welcome back to another episode of High in Fibre. I'm your host. My name's Kelsey. I am the co-owner and primary dyer, I guess you could say, at Eek Steek Knits. It's a husband-wife team. One of these days we'll get Chris on here. But yeah, so I'm just coming to hang out with you guys today. So what I thought we would do today is I'm going to give you a little bit of a sneak peek of some stuff I have coming up. But I just thought I would do kind of more of a traditional style knitting podcast where I just talk a little bit about what I'm wearing for my knitwear and also what I'm knitting these days. Spoiler alert, a lot of things that go on feet apparently is my thing right now. So yeah, I hope you are all well. So grab your coffee, grab your knitting. I have my giant mug of tea. It's like 3:30 in the afternoon here right now. So I'm off coffee for today. I've already had 3 or 4. Too many. Let's just put it that way. So I'm sticking to tea now. Although that's still caffeinated, so you win some, you lose some. Alright, so to dive in, I thought I've got my handy dandy cart over here, which is just off screen so you guys can't quite see it. But I thought I would start with a project that I finished this last week that I was quite excited about. They are, I cannot pronounce the name, so I'm going to put it down at the bottom. It's a Norwegian, oh, and I'm putting them on backwards. It's a Norwegian designer. And it translates to wilderness mittens or wild mittens. But so they've got these fun, like wolf paws on them. It comes from a collection called Scandinavian style wilderness mitts, and they're all, or wilderness knits, not mitts, but they have several patterns that I have been coveting, and this one was one that I was like, oh, I can whip that out in, you know, a few days kind of thing. So I have these awesome, look at them, aren't they cute? These awesome mitts, and they're so cozy. I even knit them in Rauma. It's their Vams yarn. And it's just so lovely. I picked this up when I was, when I was in Norway, and so it was the perfect excuse to use it. I had seen these 2 colors and I thought, I'm gonna pick those up. I don't know for sure for what, but probably Colorwork. So that's something that I actually finished in this last week. So I thought I would show you guys those. I'm very excited about them. The English translation of the pattern is not stellar, but if you've done any kind of a Selbu mitten or Colorwork chart, you really don't need the English translation for much of it anyways, so it's pretty straightforward. So yeah, highly recommend. Super cozy. Yeah, I don't know, I have a lot else to say about it. It was exciting for me to use some of my Norwegian stash yarn, and it's cool now that I live in a place where actually it's cold enough to wear some of this stuff. So I'm coveting the day when it gets cold enough and I can wear my Colorwork dress that I made out of yarn that I got when I was in Norway a number of years ago. So that's those guys. Oh, and I should tell you what I'm wearing too today. So I'm wearing a very cute little fox t-shirt, but my knitting that I'm wearing is the Ease cardigan by Josee Paquin. I didn't do, I did this actually as a test knit for her before it came out. And I love the band on the side here. In the original pattern, there's actually a button band that you pick up and attach here, but I decided instead of doing a button band on it, I would just do, I got permission, don't worry. I got permission and I did just an I-cord bind off on the edge because I didn't want it to button up. I thought this design was too pretty and that a button band kind of distracted from it. So and I knit this in hemp wool. So it's got a certain amount of hemp in it and then a certain amount of wool in it, and so it gives it that really nice kind of heathered flecky quality that you get like if you put a silk or anything with wool or blend 2 different colors of wool together. So it's a really nice one. I really like it for kind of those in-between times when it's not cold enough to wear like your full wool thick sweaters yet. And yeah, it was a really fun knit. I love Josee's patterns. I highly recommend them. Yeah, she just released a really cool, I'll throw one of the pictures in here. I saw her at Knit City just before she released this pattern and she had it on, and I was just like, oh, if you like Colorwork, her latest sweater design that got released is so gorgeous. So gorgeous. So I'll put that there, and I'll throw a link down below as well in case that's your jam. So as I said, I've been knitting a lot of feet related things lately. One, because I have a sock pattern coming out. So I've been knitting, frogging, knitting, frogging, knitting, frogging, but now I'm actually knitting and not frogging. You guys you might have seen this if you watched my last podcast. I didn't have very much done on it yet, and now I have I'm past the heel now. So these ones are Selfish socks, this particular one, and the yarn I'm using is Crafty Jack's Boutique, and the colorway is Frosty Fall. And this is their Tough and Tender sock, which is a targhee and nylon, and it's just, I just love this base. It's such a cool base, and it's so lovely to knit. So I'm digging those quite nicely. I also, my grandpa has turned 90, as I have extra stray needles floating around here, and so he likes slippers. And he has a very sad looking pair of slippers. So I've knit him some new ones. So this is the Slippers for Everybody pattern, which is just a really great, quick, it's an old white buffalo pattern. I talked about this one before as well. So I've got one slipper completely done and the other one just past the heel. So it's just like maybe an hour of knitting to go on this one. It's been kind of my board game knitting. Chris and I have been playing a new game called Agricola some evenings, and so this has been sitting beside. We haven't even put the game away because we've been playing it so much, and there's a lot of like little pieces. So this has been my Agricola game knitting, and I'm quite enjoying it. Both the game and the knitting. So, but I want to get these done this week because it's starting to get cold, and Grandpa needs slippers that don't have holes. So there's these. So I'm kind of excited. And then I have another foot related thing that I've been knitting, and it's called Unicorn Poop. Not the pattern, but the yarn. The yarn is called Unicorn Poop, and it's from a Manitoba based dyer, Dye For You. She's always does spectacular colorways. I don't know if you can tell, but this cubby, this one, yeah, this cubby, almost all of the yarn that's in this cubby right here is Dye For You. I think there's like 2 skeins that aren't hers, but I really like her yarn a lot. Also because like, who doesn't love like, oh, these colors, they're just so good. So I'm enjoying those as well. I actually also have been knitting. I'm gonna grab them because they're just over there. And I'm back. I should say too about the sock pattern that I'm using for this. I'm just using a vanilla sock, basic kind of toe-up thing, so I'm not following a particular pattern. These are for a friend of mine, and she has fairly narrow feet, so it's just a 58 stitch sock circumference wise, and that's how wide the stripes are, on 2.25 needles. So kind of gives you an idea. But yeah, so I'm excited for these. These are just like it's like popcorn knitting, I call it, because you keep going and you're like, oh, I want to get to the next color. I want to get to the next color. The other day I was like, no, I haven't finished a full, when I cast them on, I hadn't finished a full color repeat, and I was like, I can't go to bed until I finished a full color repeat. So it was kind of a late night. But it's popcorn knitting. It's just one of those things that you just keep going and going because the yarn is so satisfying to knit with. I've made some progress on my skirt, and I've tried it on. You're not going to really be able to tell that I've done a bunch more, but maybe you can. I don't know. I've tried. It's a really good like hip and bum warmer. Now it doesn't really get much farther than that yet, but it's getting there. I've started doing, now you can't tell yet because I've just started, and also I think because the yarn is quite dark. Once I get a little further along, you might be able to tell I've started to do some of the kind of faux pleating. That's not the right word, but it does like a kind of like that kind of an increase kind of thing to like flare it out a little bit. it doesn't actually end up looking like pleating so much, but it gives you just like a really nice kind of vintage kind of flair, if I would say, or at least that's what it looks like in my brain. This is what we'll find out when I knit it, if it actually works. This is where designing can be interesting, because sometimes you have a vision and you try it and it looks exactly like it, and other times you try it and you go, oh, I have to go back to the drawing board. And especially too with bigger garments like this that are a little less straightforward maybe sometimes than say a toque or a sock. It can sometimes what you envision when you're newer at it is maybe not always what you get, and I'm definitely newer to some of the bigger garments at least, so yeah, or at least doing them without any form of a pattern to begin with, so which is my case with this one. This is why skirt design that I've been working on, and it's in, what is it? It's Briggs and Little Regal, so it's quite a rustic yarn, but it will wear beautifully for having on your bum and for sitting on things. I did tack down, so there is, you do kind of a cast on and then you create a purl bump to fold over, and then what I'll do is I'll actually go around and tack this down and feed an elastic in through here, so it'll give you a little bit more structure just to the waistline, so then that way if the yarn relaxes out a bit, at least it will kind of still hold a certain width. It won't get too much bigger. But yeah, so that's how that's going. And then one other thing, well, I mean, I have a lot more things on the needles, let's be honest. I'm not a monogamous knitter. This wouldn't be a very exciting podcast today if I was a monogamous knitter. I'd have to come up with a lot to say about one project. But I have the goal of knitting all my nieces and nephews. There's 4 of them, so it should be doable. I've got a month, right? 6 weeks? I've got more than a month. It's just the beginning of November, Kelsey. Don't get ahead of yourself. I've got a while before Christmas. And so I wanted to knit them each hats. And I got this yarn last spring, I want to say. Like, not this most recent spring, like 2020 spring. Or midsummer, early summer, something like that. I think it's called Starlight. I actually got it from Hobby Yarn, the Denmark one, not the one in the States. And it has, I don't know if you can see it. I'll see if I can get a picture of what this yarn does, because it actually just looks blue from what I can tell on the camera. But it has a filament in it. I don't know if it will it focus? It's trying. It's really trying. What if I put a handful of it? No, you really can't tell. It does have a reflective filament twisted or spun in with the yarn. So I have 3 different colors of this: a dark blue, this kind of brighter royal blue, and a purple. So I have 2 nieces and 2 nephews, so the nephews each get a blue variation, and the nieces will each get a purple one with a different colored pom-pom on the top. But I thought it'd be fun, since they live in the gloomy weather of the coast in the winter, that reflective toques might be the way to go this year. Plus it's just kind of fun if they're like playing around with flashlights or whatever. It would make kind of a neat thing. So this is, I'm using, what am I using? I'm not actually knitting barley from Tin Can Knits, but I am using their number suggestion. It's a really great base if you're looking for just a worsted weight toque. It kind of gives you can take their numbers and play with it and mess around as much as you want. I don't love garter on a toque myself, although that being said, one of my favorite toques that I wear is quite a lot of garter, or it's like an inverted. It would be like wearing this inside out, but then it has like a, what looks like a dropped stitch kind of thing up the side. But this, I don't love the aesthetic of the barley toque, but I love the versatility in that they have it in a bunch of different sizes, and then they also have a light one and they have a worsted weight one. So it's just a really good resource if you are someone who likes to have kind of the framework but not be locked into a particular pattern design and you just kind of want to mess around. So I'd highly recommend checking those out. Plus I think there's tutorials, so if you're new at knitting toques or knitting in the round in general, Tin Can Knits, can't recommend them enough. They are somebody that I've recommended for years because they have really excellent online support in the way of tutorials and whatnot through their website And they have just their beginner pattern, or beginner, which they call the Simple series, or Simple collection, is an excellent resource, and the knitting world is far better off thanks to them and their generosity with putting those together, because A, they're free patterns. I think some of my Christmas lights just popped out here. I'll have to look at that after. Distractions. But yeah, check out Tin Can Knits, because they've been really generous in their time in both the design process, the versatility and range of the designs that they've done for the Simple collection, and all their designs in general, but then also with their tutorials. They're so helpful, and I know so many times they'll be teaching a class or maybe doing a lesson and someone needs a resource in between seeing them, and often, not always, but oftentimes some of their tutorials might have the answers for them. So that's a really just, I can't tout them enough. So yeah, so those are the things that I'm knitting these days. I have a couple other things that are on the needles, but I'm waiting to hear back if I can show you one of them yet, because it's for a designer and it doesn't come out till the new year. So I have to wait and see if I can show you that yet. And then I just have lots of like little things, kind of like the hats and stuff that I've been working on. I have a serious case of cast-on-itis right now, and I've been working on some Colorwork mitts that I want to do. Kind of after after knitting these guys, I got into this phase of being all, I must knit all the Selbu styled mittens there are, and then I must design some. So I have some that I've kind of been messing around with designs for one. We'll see if I actually end up making them or not, or if it's just kind of a fun exercise and doing charts and whatnot. But so those have been fun. I'm trying to think of what else is exciting and going on here. Oh, I wanted to tell you guys, coming up later on this month will be the beginning. I'm gonna do several part series on colorwork knitting, because in case you haven't noticed, I seem to like knitting colorwork. It's kind of my thing. So I thought I would do a several part series covering different types of colorwork. So Scandinavian knitting, I might do, I don't know if I'll put it all together in one yet, or if I'm going to do one that's specifically Icelandic and one that's specifically Norwegian, but the things you can expect to hear covered will be Icelandic, Norwegian, Fair Isle, and Coast Salish styles of colorwork. So what I'm aiming to do is have at least samples knit up for you guys, so you can see what the front and the backs look like, because the backs of all of them are a bit different, and how they're constructed is also a bit specific to the region that they are from, as well as some of the just general rules about how you choose the colorwork or the designs that go on them. But I'm thinking the first one we'll do is going to be on Fair Isle. So I actually am going to do, to encompass Fair Isle, we have to talk about something called steeking, because they never, something like say a cardigan where you would knit back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, that doesn't exist in Fair Isle knitting. They would knit everything in the round and then just cut it. So in order to be fully educational in that respect, I am going to steek something for you guys. It's been a while since I've steeked something, so it could be interesting, but we're gonna go there and we're gonna see what happens. But as part of this, I thought, hey, maybe you guys would want to participate along. So this is not the final pattern, but just here's the colorwork kind of chart so you can see it. I will throw the link, if my camera will come back to me. Hello, there I am. I will throw a link down below to both my webpage and Ravelry, where I will make, it's going to be a steeked Fair Isle cozy. And it'll be a free pattern, so you don't have to pay for it or anything. But you can knit it up and we can steek it together if you like. So yeah, I thought that would be kind of fun and maybe a little bit nerve-wracking. Cutting things on camera is always a little bit terrifying. I've done it a few times for different things over the years. But we're going to try and do it in an educational format where I can give you instructions as we go. From everything about steeking panels to how to reinforce it and the cutting it and all that jazz. So hopefully that will go well, because I really only have one shot at it. Once I've cut it, I can't just be like, well, retake. without knitting another cozy. So anyways, that's that. You have that to look forward to. I also, as part of my prep for this, I got this book, which I'm so excited about. I am a nut for colorwork charts, and a large amount of my knitting library is devoted to knitting charts. And I have to tell you, I have seen this sweater from this book in person when I was in Norway, which I thought was kind of cool. But this is such a cool book. It's hardcover, so it's not the cheapest. I think it was around like $52 Canadian. When I looked up possibilities of getting it online, I think it was around $40 in the States, but then I would have had to pay shipping. So did not go with that. I got it here in Canada. But definitely recommend this if you like colorwork and you want to learn a lot of history, plus have some patterns to work with as well. This is a really excellent resource. They are a little bit limited sizing wise if you're interested in doing this in sweaters. Just true to the like Scandinavians, typically they're fairly tall and fairly lean. So the pattern sizing is not quite as encompassing as one would maybe hope for, but I think they're going off of the history of what they've had. And so that's, and that's what these charts kind of work with. But I think a lot of them are probably easily adaptable enough if you're crafty. So definitely worth a look. And for the mittens and socks alone, totally worth it. So I highly recommend this one. And then a bit of studio news that I'm rather excited about. I got this, which you guys are probably all going, why is this exciting? What is this for? It's a leather brand, and it says Kelsey Knits. So if I put it on leather, this is what it does. There we go. I might cut out some of that last little bit. There we go. Ta-da! So that is very cool. So my plan is I make these cool leather pouches, notions pouches. So my hope was that I can then put a stamp on the back. So just like if you were to buy something like a wallet or whatever, there might be a little indentation on the inside that says, made in Italy or made in wherever. I'm gonna put Kelsey Knits on the back. So I was messing around with it yesterday though, and I didn't have my proper leather working surfaces out, and I kind of hurt my arm, so it might not happen. I want to get some done for this weekend because we have a trunk show coming up, but I'm still very excited about it. I just got too excited. The other thing I was thinking I could do with these, which would be really cool, is if you have, say, a toque or mitts, and you know how you get those like little leather tags, or even the fabric ones that you can clip over the edges on stuff. So if I'm making toques or gifts for people like that, I could make a little leather tag that I could sew on with my name on it. So I thought that was very cool. But that's about it. That's what's going on here. Kelsey Knits. It's starting to, I think I already said this last time, it feels like fall, but it looks like fall now. It's a little bit dark and dreary out. I have my ring light on full blast today. I put some Christmas lights up because I found them in a bin yesterday when I was cleaning some stuff up. And plus, if you check out my Instagram feed, you'll also see it looks kind of like lasers. So the joke here is that I have installed lasers to keep my yarn stash to myself, so nobody else can touch them. Yeah. So if you guys have any questions, if there's things you want us to cover, specifically in our colorwork episodes, do comment below or shoot us an email. We love suggestions. I will not put, if you've made it this far, you've probably figured it out already, but I have not put music in this one. It was very lukewarm on that, so to the music. And yeah, that's it for now. We hope you guys are doing great, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.